Does your local real estate market have a busy season? Do you plan your marketing and production around it? Do you reliably hit or exceed your sales goals this time of year every year? Are you outperforming your local market seasonality? Today on Commission, I'll show you how to dominate your busy season in your market and make your entire annual income often in as little as 90 or 120 days with one single strategy done with mastery. I'm Todd Tramonte. I'm a team leader, broker, owner, real estate coach right here in Dallas-Fort Worth, Texas, where we've been coaching agents for over 20 years, either on our team or in our coaching business, to build teams to get out of the chaos and the grind and the frustration of being successful and making money, but feeling like the business owns you, and getting out of all that and into the freedom, the wealth, the security, the joy, and the impact of running a really great residential real estate business where things like this matter every single day. So stay tuned to learn the single strategy to make your entire annual income, or maybe even exceed that, in the next 90 to 120 days, depending on where you are and what your busy season is, if in fact you do have one. Now, let me say this very quickly before we dive in. I'm not a big believer that real estate seasonality should drive your business. There's some seasonality that we have to be really, really honest about. And busy season is part of that seasonality idea. For some of us, that's spring, summer. In secondary markets, that might actually be winter. That might be counter-cyclical. But we did an episode of Commission a few months ago where we talked about avoiding market seasonality. And what we meant by that, and if you go back and listen to it, or if you've already listened to it or watched it, you know that we talked about not necessarily denying that it exists, but evening out our production over the course of the year. A lot of people think, or a lot of people allow their real estate sales to look a lot like a traditional bell curve, where there's like nothing at the beginning of the year and nothing at the end, and everything happens in the middle. Big steep hill in the middle. Bell curve looks like a bell. Okay? The other thought here is, if you can resist or fight or strategically plan and work your way around it, that can look a lot more like a rolling hill where there's always some production, although you might still have a peak season. That's what we're talking about today. So if you heard that previous podcast episode or you watched it, now's a good time to go, hey, how am I doing? How did things go through the fall and winter? Or depending on where you are, your slower season or your off season or down season. We don't take time out. We do take vacations and time off, but we don't escape the market and just wait for the market to come back when we run great teams and brokerages. We don't do that. That's not what full-time business owners do. That's what somewhat passive, maybe you might say lazy, or just sort of go with the flow, take what you can get solo or independent or part-timers do. So I'm not picking on you if you're solo with help or all those things, you know that. But the point I'm making is, how are you doing if you set out to avoid or account for some of that seasonality? And then for the sake of today's episode, what's the one thing that you could do to dominate the busy season in your market, which for a lot of people, if you're catching this as it's being published initially, many of us are heading into that or are just beginning to step into that right now as winter transitioned into spring. Next thing you know, it's summer. And then before you know it, that so-called busy season is gone. So I'm joined by Grady Dill, Director of Real Estate Growth Systems, who helps me coach agents all over North America all day, every day. Welcome, Grady.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Hello. Would you say this is something that most agents that we talk to deal with one way or the other, a busy season?
Yeah.
And initial thoughts on how well most people account for seasonality, busy season, taking advantage, or just going with the flow?
They do not take advantage. Most people kick their feet up.
Yeah, I would say a lot of people pull back or kick their feet up during the so-called downtime. And then I think most people that we talk to are full-time and committed and wanting to grow and grind and all that stuff, good or bad. But I think most of them are still basically just showing up more frequently and more committed during busy season. I don't know that there's as much as I would like to see or as much as I recommend shifting of strategy to take advantage of the busy season. Shifting of strategy to account for and refuse to take off and give up the so-called slower seasons. I'll say this for our team here in Dallas-Fort Worth, we're having the best first quarter we've ever had, and we have had way better markets before. So it's not like the market is just giving us a great first quarter. We are having probably the best first quarter we've ever had, if not one of the. All that to say, That comes out of strategy. That comes out of effort. That comes out of focus. That comes out of making adjustments. But what we're talking about today is the one thing that you could do to make sure that you dominate your busy season. For a lot of people, that's 90 days, 120 days, 3 or 4 months, something like that. Maybe it's a little longer, maybe it's a little shorter for you, but somewhere in that 90 to 120 days window. Now, for a lot of people, they're going to sell more than half of their total annual business in that 90 to 120 day period. So if you're thinking about just simple math, half of your year is 6 months, but you're going to do more than half of your income in 3 months, 3 or 4 months, right? So that's a disproportionate amount of income in a short period of time. It's worthy of paying attention and focusing on. So all that being said, here's the big surprise for you. The strategy does not have to be the same for all of us, but what we're about to get into is applicable to all of us. And that is, during the busy season, the single best thing you can do is focus, right? So yes, if for you it's calling leads, then if that's the biggest lever you can pull to make sure that you sell the most houses in the short period of time, it doesn't mean that's the only thing you can do, but that is the thing that gets the primary focus, primary strategy, primary stewardship of time, talent, and resources for the next 90 to 120 days. So I keep using that range because people need to understand that. Let's just say you're listening to this on early March, right? You're going to put in March, April, May work for May, June, July, or April, May, June production. So depending on where you want that production and all those things, you need that 30 to 60 day lead time at least. And hopefully you've already been working hard. Some of this stuff rolls 6 months or a year. But let's just say for you, it is calling internet leads, calling home search leads, calling online leads, whatever you want to call them. If you know for a fact that if you make 50 phone calls, you're going to talk to 7 people. And if you talk to 7 people, you're going to set 1 appointment every other day. Every 14 people you talk to, you're going to set 1 appointment on average. And 8 out of 10 appointments are going to show up, and you're going to sign 8 out of 10 appointments that do show up, and you're going to close 8 out of 10 clients that you sign. Well, if you know that and you know your goals for busy season, then this comes down to, if 50 is the number per day that gets you to where you want to get, you show up and you make 50 phone calls every day. This isn't rocket science. This is the time of year to be uncompromising and say, nope, this is when the getting is good. This is when I do the things that are proven. This is not time to experiment. This is not time to get lazy. This is not time to allow myself to get behind. This is a time to, at a bare minimum, to do every single thing that I know needs to be done to get the results. Now that sounds like, why the heck would we have an episode about that? And the reason is, it's actually often difficult to manage our effort, our energy, and our focus throughout the year. This is the time of year we lock in on what works, and we do it, and we play the math. We work the numbers. We do the thing. Does that mean you can't do other things in addition to or in periphery? No, it doesn't mean that. Now, let's take that calling leads out of this, because there's a lot of people that already checked out. Maybe your number one primary way that you can predictably and confidently build business is to go and have coffee with people. Okay, well, listen. We're going to ask ourselves in the next 90 to 120 days, how many coffees can I have? How many people do I know that I can have coffee with? So I'm not having coffee with the same people all the time. Can I do, what's better, early coffee or late coffee? Can I do both? How often can I do both? What days are most likely to work? If it's having breakfast or lunch with people, it's mapping that out. How many do I need to get to the results I want to do? And then how do I make that happen? It may be that you spend half of the day every Monday just filling your lunch slots for the following week. And that's the thing you've got to do every single week. And you got to understand, am I buying lunches? What's the budget for that? Where am I going? Where would I go that would impress people? Where would I go that's easy to reach for the people that I want to speak to and the geographies that they live in? This stuff sounds so simple, but people do not do it. It's good news that it's simple. It's good news that this is the time of year where the return on those investments of time, energy, and dollars are probably the highest. It's good news that you might not need to do 5 different things. You might need to spend obsessive focus on the one most likely to succeed thing and do it at the level that alleviates all doubt. And then if you do some other things for sanity's sake, for creativity's sake, to try to add a cherry on top, that's great. But if you know that open houses drive about one buyer every time you do an open house, and you want to close 22 buyers before the end of summer, whatever, I'm just making these numbers up, then you need to do 22 open houses early enough that all of them could shop and execute or ratify, close, and fund by the end of that cycle of your goals. So somebody would say there's not enough Sunday afternoons to do that. And then you go, great. How many Saturdays are there? Are there any other days you could do open houses? How many per day can you do? That's all I'm talking about. What is the one strategy that is most likely to help you hit your goals, that is most proven to have historically helped you hit your goals? And how can you master it and stay really, really, really focused on it in this 90 to 120 day push? Now, if in your market, this is a different time of year and a different length of time, I trust that you're smart enough and committed enough and focused enough to relay what I'm saying to your market. It may not be spring, summer. It may not be 90 to 120 days. That's fine. But when that time comes and the getting is good and the ROI is disproportionate and the response rate is better than normal and people are more likely to list and more likely to buy and more likely to attend an open house and more likely to talk to a real estate agent, do you have your strategy ready? Are you ready to get a disproportionate ROI, return on investment? The investment, I'm not going to say it doesn't matter, but we might all have different investments. Mine might be buying internet leads or radio leads. Yours might be doing open houses. Hers might be doing coffees. His might be postcards or whatever it is. What is the thing that's most likely, that's most historically proven to get you results? What's your goal during your busy season? Understanding that a lot of people, like it or not, will do the majority of their income generating activity, the majority of their sales during their short busy season. Have you done the math? Have you looked historically at your market, or if you've been in the business long enough, at your specific career numbers? I do a deep dive on our numbers all the time, but especially annually, and recently did this. I think I talked about it on a previous episode that I still don't like how much seasonality affects our business. It doesn't affect our business as much as most people I know. We strategically avoid the roller coaster ups and downs, and we're having a great first quarter is kind of evidence of that. But the reality is we are still impacted by the fact that a lot of people buy and sell when they think they're supposed to, or when other people do, or when the market tells them to, whatever. Because of that, we also want to take advantage of the greater ROI opportunity in spring and summer. So for our team, each person has a slightly different strategy, but generally speaking, we are going to be on the phone more. We're going to be more diligent and more consistent, more committed. We're going to use the digital dialer more. We might run a few more ads. We run ads really consistently, but we might run a few more ads. We're going to definitely do more open houses. Some people are going to be in the office a little bit more. They're going to be a little bit more attentive to chat bots and text campaigns and following up on email campaigns. It's not that they would ignore those things at other times, but they're going to be more attentive. They're going to get more repetitions. They're going to shorten the windows of time between the effort on those things. What is your one strategy that's most proven that would drive the most business during the most important time of your year? If that's something that you want a little bit of help implementing on, somewhere near this video or audio, there's a link to my calendar. I don't have a ton of time available, but the time I do, I really enjoy these conversations. I'll spend 15 or 20 minutes with you for free, no charge whatsoever, to talk about how to implement strategies like this one into your business. We can literally talk about what should you do to make your annual income in the next 90 to 120 days, or any other strategy for growing and scaling a team out of the chaos into freedom, out of the grind into wealth, out of making good money but being annoyed all the time into making great money and being excited most of the time. So hit that link. Sign up for some time. We'll talk. No dollars need to change hands. No commitment needed. If you want to talk about coaching or a VIP day or attending an event, we can do that, but that's not required. Click that link near the video or the audio. Now, those of you that are trying to think right now of what is your one thing, what is the main thing you should focus on during this time? It's the thing that has historically been most successful. You don't need to be creative right now. You need to focus. What's the thing that has generated the most business for you that you could control? You could say the most business came from this random referral from my Uncle Larry. Okay, well, we can't go pull that lever during busy season. So that's great. Let's keep Uncle Larry happy, but that's not this. This is the things that you can do, that you can turn the dial up, you can turn the dial down. You can do it or don't do it. You have control. So it's calling, texting, emailing, meeting with people, having conversations, getting things in people's hands or in front of their eyeballs. It's being of service. It's earning trust. It's building relationships. It's setting appointments. It's those things. What is the one thing? What's the biggest lever you've got that moves the needle the most? I'm not saying in all of your life in business. I'm saying that in the next 90 to 120 days, realistically, the most likely thing that will turn into sales, that will turn into referrals, that will turn into repeat, that will turn into volume, that will turn into commissions, that will turn into income and impact. I've given you a bunch of examples. It might be calls, open houses, handwritten notes, lunches, coffees, hosting parties, whatever. Whatever that is, we're leaning into that with an obsessive focus. We're doing it with excellence. We're going to do it so much that we're going to be better at it than we've ever been. If I'm making 50 calls every single day and I refuse to compromise for the next 90 to 120 days, at the end of that, I'm going to be as good or better at that than I've ever been because I'm going to be fresh, attentive to the market, the shifts, the adjustments. I'm going to have done a lot of it. I'm going to get better and better as I go. I'm going to make adjustments when I succeed. I'm going to make adjustments when I fail, and I'm going to grow. And I'm going to make a bunch of money in a short period of time, taking full advantage of, quote, busy season, end quote. And then even if I don't account for seasonality in the rest of the market, I'm already good. If I do also go account and overcome slow seasons, then I might crush and exceed my goals this year. I might make 10% more, 50% more, 100% more money and impact than I originally intended. You can do this. It's really not complicated. That's the beauty of this is I'm not asking you to do something new and creative and complicated. I'm asking you to do something disciplined. I'm asking you to do something every single day. That might be 5 or 6, maybe even 7 days a week, just during a busy season sprint, but it's probably pretty reasonable stuff, 5 days a week that could produce massive income and impact in the next 90 to 120 days. So go dominate your busy season with this one idea, doing the one main thing as your primary focus. And if I can help you, click the link near this video or audio. We'll jump on a quick call, no cost at all. We'll talk about growing your business. We'll talk about growing your life, your income, your impact, and on and on and on. Don't sleep on busy season. Go win busy season, and I'll talk to you on the next one.